Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen here with Louis D'Souza and Amy Blackford. Today is Monday, August the 24th, 2020. It's 4 p.m. New York time, and wherever you are in the world, thanks for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. We're off to a blazing start here on Monday because, as usual, Amy has a topic all lined up for us. And even more than that, I've got a couple of emails that I wanted to share that came from listeners who have been tuning in. And guys, I've been kind of talking up the last few days how I really want to keep building and building and building our audience up, getting us into like the next level, so to speak. And our listeners have been kind of climbing on board, which is cool.
I love that.
Giving me feedback, giving me encouragement, giving me ideas. So I just wanted to share a few of them. First, from Barbie. Now, Barbie is very clearly a very direct woman because she says, dude, you don't need to do anything. Visualize the larger audience and it will be there. Dan's radio research was waiting on you to pick it up. That was on Thursday. We were talking about that. And carry it into fruition. Larger audience, radio, TV, broadcasting station. Intend it, manifest it, bring it in. It will be. And just remember us little people who are here with you during the growth stage. And then she followed up and saying, what about listener-supported radio? $1 a day or whatever people want to give. No obligation. I'm certain it'll be amply funded. Believe, she says once again. So, yeah, I agree. And actually, Barbie, I never actually stopped visualizing. I visualize every single day on this stuff because I really do want to build that larger audience. But I love the way you just kind of forcefully say, go do it. Just do it. Get it done.
It's done. It's already done.
That was great. And then Janelle actually shared some information. I've mentioned that there was an iPhone issue, and she confirmed she had the same issue and gave me some good details that was very helpful. And then she followed up with a really nice email in which she said, thanks again for all you are doing for the community of listeners. I've really enjoyed your show and listening as faithfully as I can to as many shows as I can. As an aside, I really enjoyed the last Neville show. That was last Wednesday. With the piece about tithing and tipping, I also find the connection of giving 10% energetically to the idea that scientists say we only use 10% of our brain's potential power. That's an interesting comparison there. I wonder if there's something in the cycle of energetic gifting that Neville discusses that about, growing that potentiality. Also, I love your manifestation focus on a TV radio station. As I listened to you and Cindy talk about this again last Wednesday, as a listener, this doesn't feel like a stretch. I think of what you do already as a radio show and your live stream as a TV show. You even often have a live audience. So it's fair to say you are a TV radio host. Do we have supportive listeners or what? When I pictured owning a radio station for you, what came to mind is a podcast network for LOA shows, with yours being the feature and branch out with shows from your various co-hosts. I don't really know how these networks are, and I don't think we need to worry about how the hows work. I just get the feeling to be open to what this manifestation looks like. It's about getting the message out to an exponentially broader audience that's ready to receive your vibration of happy. And I agree that on literally what she described, that was my original intention. Way back when I first started this thing.
And that's why it's growing as it is.
It's really cool. So thank you both to Barbie and Janelle for reaching out. That was really wonderful. I just loved it. It was great.
Well, it's wonderful when people take the time to acknowledge you're doing something you're passionate about. And then they take the time to express to you what it means to them. And that just in itself is the fuel and the passion. Even though you would keep doing it without that, that just kind of adds and amplifies that energy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it certainly amplified my energy. I can tell you when I got those 2 emails, it's like, oh, a nice big pick me up. I like that.
Absolutely.
Really good. So Amy, I can tell you're feeling great as usual.
I am. I'm in a really good space. We had something really fun happen, my husband and I, that I wanted to share with you. It's a perfect example of how something can happen. And if you want to label it as negative, you can, but if you can stay open that everything truly is happening for a reason, that might sound really cliche to a lot of people, but when you start understanding the law of attraction, you can understand the concept that literally everything that is happening is an opportunity for something new and exciting to come from it. So long story short, because I'll keep this short, my husband lost his wallet, which had lots of credit cards and a business card for our business, our fireplace business in it. And the thing that he was actually the most upset about was this engraved wallet that I had given him that had a message on the inside of it. He's like, all the other stuff I can replace. He said, but this wallet, whenever I open it and I'm kind of having a tough day and I read this engraving from you, it really lifts me up. And
Nice.
so he stayed pretty calm. He went and he closed all of the credit cards.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, his intuition, he admitted this later, was telling him not to do that, not to close the cards out, even though it was a tremendous amount of money at risk and he had no idea where the wallet was.
Hmm.
He was certain he had lost it while out running errands. So while he was doing that, I am on Facebook because I bought it through Facebook, the wallet. So
Hmm.
I was going to see if I could re-gift him this wallet to send it to him because it was the thing he was actually the most upset about.
Sure.
In the middle of me looking for this wallet, I get a text on my phone that's through our business line. I found your wallet in capital letters, and he gives me his name and his phone number. So I give the number to my husband. My husband calls him, and the guy is like, "Okay, where do you live?" And my husband's like, "We're in Dunwoody." And he's like, "Okay, well, I am too. Where in Dunwoody?" And he says, "Dunwoody Village Apartments." And he's like, "Are you kidding me? I'm in Dunwoody Village Apartments." And
Ah,
he literally lived a few apartments away from us. So
nice.
my husband goes to meet him, and it ends up he is a doctor. He is an acupuncturist. So this is where it gets even more exciting. Is one of the things I haven't added to my list of remedies for pain is acupuncture. And it's just something that I've been wanting to try. And I hadn't even voiced this to my husband. And the night before that, he was telling me he wanted to start acupuncture. And so when he went and met this guy, finds out he's the doctor who he doesn't even just deal with acupuncture. It's more of a holistic, like Louis was talking about on the last podcast about the importance of foods and thought and all of these things. So it's kind of an integration of everything we've been talking about, caretaking for the body, eliminating pain. Apparently, this doctor, this whole thing started, he was an MMA fighter.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah, he had all sorts of injuries from this. And that's kind of what sent him on this road to self healing. So, because my husband lost his wallet, and then this wallet was like in the middle of the road, this man stopped his car.
Oh
How
my.
many people would even do such a thing? And that he lived in the same apartment complex, only a few apartments away, and is now going to end up. My husband has his first consultation with him, and he's going to check it out. And we're going to both basically have consultations and kind of add this to our list of self healing remedies.
I
And
don't know
it's
about you,
just
Louis. I think the universe lifted his wallet. I mean, that's the way it sounds to me.
it's just
You know,
amazing to me.
the power of the universe is incredible.
It is.
It can put pieces of the puzzle together that you couldn't even dream of.
Right.
Hmm.
And that was the thing, is during all of this going on, basically, as stressful as it is to lose something where you understand there are people in the world, like we were talking about, there are thieves. My husband and I just kind of kept this energy of, well, you know what? It is what it is. The thing he was most upset about was this gift.
Hmm.
And then I was even looking for a solution for that. And then to just have it immediately delivered back wasn't even about the money because he'd already canceled all the cards. It was really about even that the doctor lived in the same apartment complex, only a few apartments away. And this apartment complex, by the way, there's like 30,000 people in here. It's huge. And so just all of that together, that he's an acupuncturist and something both of us have expressed interest in, really, when you're in the flow and you keep yourself in alignment, the way things snap together so fast, there's literally no resistance there to having things delivered to you at a very rapid pace. It was less than 10 minutes of panic that happened.
The
Like,
whole thing
where's my
happened in 10
wallet? Oh
minutes.
no. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So I had to tell that story because I thought it was such a great conversation starter.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know, Louis. I mean, you've been telling some pretty good stories, but you're going to have to work to top that one, I think. I mean, that's got a lot of connections going on there. So, okay, well, that's a good start. I can't say I really had a specific topic in mind, so that I mean, I would say let's go in that direction.
Walt, sorry. I just wanted to say something. I was on mute. I was talking to my daughter. I was
Sure.
hoping to get her to listen in, because I added the extra account to Zoom there. So if you can see there, I don't know if you've added it in. I think
Yes,
you
yes,
have.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
it's in
can
there.
see
So,
that.
yep,
Yeah.
she should be able to hear.
But she's not. But that's besides the point. So,
Okay.
but what I wanted to mention, Amy, is that my wife lost her wallet, and she's,
Ah!
you know, I have to top the stories.
I threw
Go
the
right
gauntlet down.
ahead.
just the other day. So, she's very good at placing things in the right place in the right order, and she's excellent at remembering them. But this wallet was gone, vanished completely. So she remembered she had it in the house. She doesn't know how it vanished and all the rest of it. So we're wandering around looking for it, and nobody can find it anywhere. So she goes to work, and while she's at work, somebody knocks on the door, and I open the door, and the guy says, "Is this yours?" And it's my wife's wallet. And we're wondering, where did you find it? He said, "Oh no, down. He lives in a couple of streets down away." I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And then I was looking at it, and it's all torn apart. All the cards are still in there, the money's still in there, everything's still in there, but it's very torn apart. Then we're thinking, what happened? What happened? And then suddenly the penny dropped. The fox came into the house, stole her wallet, went down the road with it, chewed it to pieces, and decided it wasn't too tasty. And then this guy found it and brought it back to the door. What are the chances?
What are the chances? Wow.
No money, no
Fox.
cards,
I
no
mean,
nothing. Lost. It was incredible. It was amazing.
That's an interesting parallel. That really,
I
mean,
know. As soon as you said this, is like, oh my gosh, I got to tell you the story.
that is amazing. I love it.
and the poor fox is trying to figure out why it is he doesn't like cowhide. I mean,
Yeah. You see, we've got some youngsters at the moment, and they'll come into the house and they'll they'll chew through your light cable and get this huge shock, and you and you've got this light cable torn to pieces. It's like, oh my gosh.
Can I say something that happened with the foxes?
What happened to the foxes?
They went through the Lego.
What, just walking through it?
No, they literally just.
That is such a cute story.
it is a great story. It's wonderful.
And I love how some of me and Louie's stories always seem to sync up in some way. that just adds to the magic.
There's been a lot of that.
Yeah, there has.
My daughter was just saying the fox was deciding to play with my daughter in the Lego and was wandering all over it and playing with Lego.
Playing with Lego. I love it.
You really got a little bit of worry because you know that the foxes can be dangerous. They're wild animals. You can't pet them or anything. And if my daughter happens to be in the doorway when it wants to come out, there may be an issue. But otherwise, there probably will be nothing. But
well, actually, I have a story like that.
Oh,
you do?
It happened twice in the past 3 or 4 days. Yeah, we were sitting after dinner, talking, and Louise was looking at some videos and such, and all of a sudden we smelled what smelled like a skunk. Like, what the heck is going on? Did a car hit a skunk or something? So I go to the front door where we usually feed our cat, and open the door, and there's a skunk right outside the door eating the cat food.
Wow.
Like, close the door real quick.
We don't need any of that.
It's like go around to the window, and it's dark out. I flash a flashlight to see if Joy is out there. He's out there. He's staring at me. He's staring at the skunk. I'm staring at the door where the skunk is. The skunk is this huge, very large skunk. This is not a small one. This is a fully grown adult male, and just chowing down on the food. We had just put the food out for him because he doesn't like to come in to eat. By the time like 10 minutes was gone, the food was gone too. I mean, it was hysterical. And then, I had to check afterward to make sure, did the cat get attacked? Did he get sprayed? Or something like that. Nothing like that happened. It was okay. So the next day, we put the cat food out, and the skunk comes by again and steals the cat food. So we're thinking, well, we got to come up with a new arrangement here for the cat. That wasn't working really, really well there. So we ended up trying to coax him in to feed him, and that's what we've been doing the last few days. But it was the first time I've ever had a skunk come up and virtually ring the doorbell. It was, yeah.
That is crazy. I have a family of cats that I've been feeding outside. It started with a little baby kitten who I've been feeding since he was born, and now he's a full-grown cat. Then he had a girlfriend who started coming around, and they've had, I can't even tell you how many batches of kittens. And I go out and I feed them wherever the mom has this like little cave
Mm-hmm.
where there's vines and she keeps them, and I make sure that they're fed. And I'm like, what is going to happen when I move out of this apartment? Because we do plan on getting a house soon
Mm-hmm.
and moving locations. And I have this attachment to the cat. So there's this part of me that's like, I just want to snatch them all and bring them with me. And then I'm like, no, that is not my place to do that. They're happy here. One of the other neighbors also puts food out for them. But I have such a love for creatures, for animals. It's I am one of those people. If there's an injured bird, a squirrel, I take it in. I'll try to nurse it back to health. I have this, I don't want to say it's a weird connection with even bugs, but it's like I don't, first of all, like seeing anything die, or it's not even that I resist the idea that it's dying. It's that if I can assist it, I want to.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Okay,
this
you're
thing inside
pro-life.
of
We
me.
understand.
Say that again.
You're pro-life. We understand.
Oh, Louis.
Tends to be something humans appreciate.
I think so, yeah. Well, we wouldn't be here if we weren't, That's just what we do. We come here to live.
Okay, so you
I'm
guys
just
will
saying I understand, Amy.
Okay, good. You'll laugh at this one. This was one of my more extreme, when I was like, wow, do I need therapy for this? I used to do paint murals, and I would do paint outside murals sometimes, and my mother-in-law had hired me. They built this beautiful lake house, and I was doing an outdoor mural on the deck. And it was a fly, and it was flying around me, and it went down into what I would use for outdoor murals was acrylic, basically house paint. And it went down into the paint, and it was just slowly starting to sink. And as I looked at it, I just connected with it. And I sat down, I scooped it out of the paint, and I sat there, drops of water, and just brushing the paint off its wings until all the paint was off of it. And then this little fly just and he didn't do it in an annoying way. It was like he was flying around me almost to thank me. And he would just sit on the wall like, I can't believe this big giant just saved my life. Not that the fly had a thought like that, but I could feel this kind of energy of appreciation from the insect. It was really a strange experience.
I wouldn't rule out that thought, actually.
Right?
Seriously, I wouldn't. I mean, especially after what Abraham and Stream of David and others have told
Everything
us
is
about.
connected.
I mean, it's all connected, right?
And when you're giving it this helpful energy, I think that kind of transcends language.
Mm-hmm.
It made me feel so good. And I wasted probably an hour of time outside painting. But in that moment, I was just so hyper focused on this one task. So yeah, that's one of my more extreme rescue missions.
Oh, absolutely. And the fact that Louis' daughter's with us is actually apropos because Josie posted something in the live stream. She says, speaking of story time, completely random, but she wants to know which children's books, in our opinion, reflect LOA principles. She says for her list, it's Wemberley Worried by Kevin Hanks and Carrot Seed by Ruth Krauss.
I can't name any. I know Wayne Dyer wrote a series of children's books. I've never read any of them. And I know in my YA, the young adult novels, I am definitely, they're not published yet, but that is something that I am implementing into the stories and weaving into the stories, is trying to teach teenagers their own power, basically, and the power of their thoughts and their emotions over the experiences that they're having. So I am happy to contribute with my art in my way to this mindset and this really this law of the universe.
That's cool, though. Because I remember that you mentioned at one point you were working on a children's book, and Yeah, so this fits in nicely there.
Yeah,
But
it's a teen, like 15 plus is
Mhm.
the target audience. And, when it's out, I'll definitely tell everybody about it. I'm very
Absolutely.
excited. I've been working on it for 4 years. And it's really the culmination. This is my 7th manuscript that I've written. And I just love having a passion. When I wake up in the morning, I have my daily routine, but I also love creating. It's
Mm.
just a form of meditation for me. That was
Mhm.
another thing you had, one of the other podcasts that I was listening to is all the different forms of meditation.
Oh,
The
yeah.
stream, David Strickler was
Right.
saying, sitting in the lotus pose hurts his back.
Yeah.
And I cannot tell you how many times in my meditation room, because I love it in there, I will try to get in that pose, and it brings my thought to my lower back. And so sometimes I just find poses that are comfortable so
Mhm.
that I can actually meditate.
Mhm.
But I also find sometimes when I'm driving, you go on autopilot, and I know where I'm going. And so my mind kind of doesn't have to process and think, turn here, turn there.
Right.
And I'll also find moments of meditation in the car, moments of meditation when I'm creating, I'm channeling some higher, some higher energy is coming through me, my higher self, some divine message. So this book that I've written, the theme is pandemic, and I started it 4 years ago.
Oh my.
And the symptoms of the virus are very similar to the ones in my story.
Hmm.
And that kind of freaked me out actually a little bit when it first started happening, that I'm finishing this book about this topic.
You're more powerful than you knew.
Yeah, I'm like, either I'm living in a parallel version bubble, because my mind went 2 places. I created this. I'm living in some parallel version of my own imagination, which
What
some
are you
people would
saying, Walt? We
argue.
need to blame Amy.
I just like to tease
Louis,
her. That's
what's
all.
so funny that you say that is my husband just yesterday said to me when we were talking about this very thing, he's like, I wouldn't admit that to anyone. So now here I've done it live on LOA Today, your daily dose of happy.
Send your hate mail too.
I think when you're taking the culmination of 8 billion people, there will be a few others that thought about it as well for it to
I think there's
manifest.
probably good bet. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I see it more as I've been channeling for a long time, so my stories end up there usually ends up being things that sync up that actually end up happening. So I just see it more as I'm reading energy and probable outcomes, because that's the other thing I love about the stream, that he refuses to make predictions,
Yeah.
because of the parallel realities. There are an infinite number of outcomes, infinite number of possibilities that can happen, and each one of us at any given time is aligning with a different version. And so there is really no way to say there is this definite solid future, this is exactly what's going to happen.
Thank goodness. Otherwise, free will would be kind of pointless.
And yeah, I love this idea that there's endless possibilities. It leaves it so open-ended to what I want to choose to believe is going to happen.
Yeah.
And actually yesterday, Walt, I was over with my my husband's parents, and they are really just open-minded spiritual people. We talked about out-of-body
Oh
experiences
my.
and all these different things that they've had over the years.
You get them to watch your
And
podcast.
yeah, I told them about the podcast.
Very good.
And we were talking about, I told them how I first came on here. It was because I heard you talking about the pandemic and the current state of things in a way that a lot of people wouldn't talk about it and aren't talking about it, in a dialogue that says, I just think something really great is happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they agreed with that, because one thing we talked about was getting past fear and understanding, like Louis and I have discussed, it's important to experience those lower emotions, fear, and the spectrum of human emotion is there for us to experience it, but to also not get stuck in any one mode, any one emotion. You have to just kind of move through them and feel them as you go. And so they were really excited to hear that there's material being put out that is one of hope for people. Because I think more now than ever, it is very important for, first of all, people to understand that they can align with any version of this scenario that they want to.
Oh,
So if they want to align with the world is ending and, you know, it's all going to hell in a handbasket, then that's what you're going to experience. And you're going to get what you think about. If you
And
want
you
to
can
see
go
this,
through the entire pandemic wondering what everybody else is on about because you've
Yes.
experienced none of it. And that's pretty much my life.
yeah,
I really have
to,
totally confused what people are going on about, what they scared about. And
I
all
blew
these
their
things.
mind last night because I told them I'm completely unafraid of getting it. And it's not that I'm not conscious. I
Oh,
wear
I
the
want to get
mask.
it. So yeah, that's another
I'm,
story.
Want to get it.
I'm conscious.
Okay,
of,
I'm writing that as a hashtag.
I'm conscious of others. It's not like I'm saying it from an arrogant standpoint. I just have zero fear around it. And that's my
Hey, I might have
choice.
some immunity if I get it as well. So cool.
Right.
Or I'll be dead and there's nothing I can do about it. It's all cool.
You're just going to shoot up into another identity anyway. So that's my belief anyhow.
Exactly. Not particularly worried about it all.
No.
But before we leave the other part of the topic, I still want to hear, because Louis, you've got 2 girls. You've gone through quite a bit in terms of books, I would think. Are there any books that you point to for kids?
I've had a
that
lot
are
more
maybe-
girls than that. No, I'm sorry. What?
That's your private business. I'm not going to delve there. No.
What were you talking about, boss? I've got 2 girls. Yeah, I've got 2 daughters.
Should I mention that to your wife? No, I think I'll stop.
Yeah. It's nothing she hasn't heard a million times.
No, but are there any?
Definitely know Wayne Dyer has some, and I wouldn't be surprised if Abraham Hicks has some children.
Oh, Abraham has 3 books.
Yeah, Sarah,
He
those
does.
3
Sarah
books, I
book.
love them.
Okay.
I gave them to my daughter, but they really explain the LOA nicely.
Fantastic.
Really, really nicely.
I got bored of them at
Oh.
the time I read them.
My daughter just told me she got bored of them, but I gave it to her when she was like 8 years old or something. So it's really it's more of a teenage book.
Mhm.
Okay, gotcha.
What about for younger kids then? What are some good titles for somebody who's in their single-digit years?
I don't know any, to be honest.
Yeah, neither do I.
Okay, now I'm stunned.
And I'm a huge children's book like author, and I've really not seen this type of material very much put out. But I would look at Hay House, of course.
Well,
Yeah.
I can name one that's a very popular one, and I'm the one who doesn't have kids, so that's why
Okay,
I'm kind of laughing.
Name it,
It,
Walt.
it came up on Friday, and that's why it's kind of stuck in the
Okay.
back of my mind. It's The Little Engine That Could.
Never heard of it.
Oh,
The little engine
okay.
that could.
The Little Engine That Could. It's the story of a little engine who needs to be able to climb a mountain to pull a load. I don't remember why he has to do that, but he has to do it. And as he's climbing the mountain, he says, "I think I can. I think I
Right,
can. I think
yes.
I can." And then he gets close to the top. "I know I can. I know I can." It's like telling your own LOA story.
That's true. I bet if I went back through a lot of children's books, those types of messages were weaved in, but they were done so well, it wasn't apparent, which is the best. Actually, it's the best way to teach it,
Mhm.
especially to children, because as Louis's daughter noted, boring when the message is just kind of put out there. It's called didactic writing, and a lot of people don't respond well to it.
It was done very, very well with an owl and a story
Oh,
and
okay.
all the rest of it. It's very, very well done. I mean, I was impressed. So
I'm actually going to check
it's just,
those
I just
out.
think it was the age that I gave it to. If I give it to her again now, I think it'll be a different story, but we'll see.
Okay.
There's also a book that my wife used to go on about when she was working in daycare called Positively Mother Goose, which rewrites all of the old fairy tales and nursery rhymes into
love
positive
that.
terminology. So instead of having, stories where, the kids get baked in an oven or something like that.
Right, yes. A lot of the old children's stories.
Oh, they
are
were pretty nasty.
Super dark.
Yeah. So this one turns it around and produces some happy results and some positive results and so forth. So it's not specifically teaching law of attraction, but it is teaching a mindset.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That
I mean, I
mindset's
keep on
important.
thinking of Hansel and Gretel and all those things are really some quite dark.
They
Oh,
really are. And
But I tell you, the
I
kids
love dark.
really drawn to it. They really
I
are.
love dark stories.
Yeah.
Me and my teenager love to watch dark stories. I like light and dark. It depends on the mood that I'm in, but I like the contrast between the two for sure. It depends on if I am in a very somber mood, I will usually reach for actually something lighter, something funny. I love to laugh. Comedy is one of my favorite things. I love stand-up comedy. So anything to make me laugh. Laughter to me is the best medicine.
it truly is. And I believe it was
So
Irma Bombeck who originally coined that phrase, but she was absolutely right because it truly is fabulous medicine. It's good for you.
Yeah,
It's a way of basically climbing out of any negative spiral. If you can laugh at it, you can climb out of it.
agreed.
Yeah. What were you saying, Louis?
Don't know if you remember last time, Walt, we were talking about my new understanding of energy in breath, tapping into source energy.
Mhm.
And one of your users, also one of our Aloe listeners, users. I'm still back in my IT days.
Well, they use the device that they listen to the program on, so
was talking about it, and she said she was really enjoying the breathing analogy, etc. And I can't find her comment again, so I was wondering if Walt could maybe dig in around, look for it. But I said last time that I also wanted to bring up what she said about the exhale. Remember, I said it wasn't what we generally think of, just releasing. It was quite different. So I wanted to read it to you. I thought it might be good to.
I know I forwarded that to you. Let me see if I can find it.
No, I'm talking about this book that gave me the information in the beginning. So.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the listener.
Okay, so you're talking about our last discussion when you were talking about breathing in and then
That's
the exhale
correct.
and what that meant. I know what you're talking about now. Okay.
Now I know I highlighted it. It seems to have vanished.
Where did it go? Where did it go?
You said it.
No.
Was that something different?
I'm not finding that email either. So I think
It's not an email. It was a comment on Aloe Today. I don't know if it was actually on the website itself or if it was on the podcast.
Ah, okay. I'm not sure where that is
on YouTube one. So.
Well, I would categorize that as one of those things that will show up when it's ready to show up. So, when it's appropriate, it'll show up.
Okay. Now, listen up. We've up to now we've been practicing your concentration exercises combined with slow, regular breathing, in which you have inhaled the air and then you have exhaled it again. From now on, when you sit down to concentrate. When you sit down to your concentration exercises, you ought to practice them differently. As long as you inhale and exhale, you're identifying yourself with your body. But the truth of the matter is that your body is really doing the inhaling and exhaling, not you. Okay, so there's some really interesting concepts and ideas that they're bringing in here. And when they say not you, they're talking about your higher self.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The body lives because the higher self, God, breathes his own breath into it. We're all alive because our physical beings inhales the breath of God. You know that God is the self in you. Thus, your body inhales yourself, you, and gives your body life. As long as you believe that you're the one breathing, you're identifying in your consciousness with your body instead of with your higher self.
Ooh.
On the other hand, when you experience in your consciousness that your body is inhaling yourself and then again in your breathing out, you're giving yourself freedom. You're giving yourself freedom. I said it wrongly. So when So when the body is inhaling yourself, then again, in breathing out, giving yourself freedom, you can experience the marvelous transition out of the person, the animated body you have been up to. You've been up to the present in your true self. Now, I'm not reading this brilliantly. Some people can read this much better. From now on, as you practice, try to realize that not you are inhaling and exhaling, but you are being inhaled and exhaled by your body. With every breath, you have the feeling during inhalation that you are filling your body with life-giving power, and your body is inhaling you. And in exhaling, that you are withdrawing yourself from the body and remaining separate from it within yourself until the next breath.
Wow, that's really interesting.
That's a lot of mental activity for breathing too. I mean, I'm kind of imagining myself sitting here. Okay, I'm going to sit here. I'm breathing myself in now, but I'm also, my body is breathing me in as I'm breathing. Oh, I'm out of breath. I got to come in the other direction.
I really like this idea that I'm not the one taking the breath, because the body has its own mechanism. It's my suit, but it isn't actually the occupant of the suit is the higher self, the soul, the spirit, whatever you want to call it. And so the suit, the mechanism is the breathing, because that's what makes all of this operate. So it makes sense. That makes a lot of sense to me, what you just read there.
I like the phrase giving yourself freedom. I thought that was a great phrase, because
Yes.
it's so often that we do the opposite. So many people take away their own freedom. So giving ourselves freedom, that's a nice concept. That's like a reminder. Even if we've given it away, we can give it back to ourselves. We can still give it to
Yes.
ourselves.
So one of the simplistic things that I'm kind of getting is your higher self and your cell and your physical body, they separating for the understanding of this process.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing I'm getting from it. The
Mhm.
second thing is they're saying that the body breathes in you, because without source energy, the body wouldn't exist.
Right.
So you've got the physical body breathing in the source energy that animates it. And then when it breathes out, it's kind of like a death. It's kind of like you're separating yourself from, you're kind of seeing that separation of the body from the source. And you're kind of seeing it as the tool that it is, rather than getting mixed up between your higher self and your physical body.
Right.
I found it incredibly profound and useful, but I can understand that this is not everybody's cup of tea.
No, I think it's really interesting. And it's also all of the body mechanisms, the heartbeat,
All of them,
all of
absolutely.
the things that are just, we're saying they're automatic, but the body, I've always said, I think the body has its own consciousness, meaning it's its own suit. It is the suit of my higher self, my soul, but it's got its own consciousness that the soul is animating it. And therefore, I've learned also how to start speaking kindly to my body, especially going through the pain that I've been in. One thing that I'm finding comfort in is speaking more kindly to myself and seeing how that shifts the pain around a lot.
It's a good plan.
So the pain manifested, I believe, when I was younger. I was always lack mentality with money. And I remember, Louis, when I first mentioned I had back pain, you said something about lack of money, which is something I've definitely conquered. I never feel that feeling anymore. So
then the back pain should be gone.
Yeah, I know, right. But however, I feel like there are other unresolved, I feel like pain is a storage of emotional baggage, trauma, however you want to, phrase it, is fine. So the pain is a gift, because it's a reminder of the things that I still have to release and let go of. And I feel like as I'm going through this process, it's also teaching me the power of my thought and my emotion, and how much control I actually have over processing pain and freeing myself of it. Because as you pointed out here so eloquently, I am not my body. And when I almost get to these places of there comes a separation of, I'm not my body. I understand that. And therefore there's no such thing as pain, because in that moment I am outside of my body, even though I'm still inside of it, if that makes any sense to some people. I
It
know it
does.
makes
So,
sense to you.
this might help. They finish off by saying this: in doing this, in other words, this series of breathing in
Mhm.
source and letting, from what I get, the death is all about the death of the ego. So the little self dies.
Mm.
And in doing this, you'll experience something similar to the death of the body when you withdraw yourself from it and your body exhales you for the last time. Practice this for a while and let us know how you get on. And when you have those out of body experiences, Amy,
Yes.
there's that kind of death that you feel. There's that.
Oh, yes.
There's that really scary, and this is what it's kind of portraying. It's kind of like you're now tuning into that different frequency,
Yes.
and using the breath to get you to that place of changing your frequency to that higher frequency. So you're now focused on more the source energy part of yourself rather than the other side.
Than the physical part. I get it. That's really interesting. And yes, OBEs, and this was part of our discussion last night with Lance's parents, my mother and father-in-law, was that death feeling when you're having an OBE. And when you first learn that's when you really first understand that you don't actually ever die. And
Yeah.
it's very liberating. It's very liberating. I think it's one of the most key reasons, even if you only do it a few times, just to get that from it. Because I think so many people live in fear of death that they aren't actually living while they're here.
Mhm.
They're so terrified of dying because they think literally this is it, this body, this identity is all that they've got. And so there's this hesitancy of, you're so afraid to die that you're not actually present here in the moment. And when you learn that that isn't actually the reality, it kind of frees you up from all of that. Like you were even saying in relation to the virus, and this is not to diminish people that are going through it or that are experiencing this in their families or are ill right now. But that you don't really have a huge fear of it because either you're going to be immune, or even if you were to experience death from it, you just don't have that fear of death because of these experiences that you've had.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. There was there was about 10 things I wanted to talk about while you were talking. I was like, which one do I start with?
Oh, goody.
So many options, so little time.
So
I know
and
an hour with us flies by really
It
fast.
does.
and Jeffrey has said liberation is a word that has shown up many times in our life over the past few days. And, I was just thinking of a liberating experience that happened to me was when I became a nudist. I was brought up in a conservative Christian-based South Africa, and the idea of wandering around nude was just not a concept. So I came to Europe and went to France, and you go north
And the
of
clothes came off.
if you go north of any beach, it's all nudist. And
Wow.
I just fitted in there so beautifully. It was like I went for a run up the beach, and I saw the nudist colony for the first time, and then I started gingerly taking my clothes off because I wanted to stay there, because I won't allow you to stay if you want to just Google all the nude people with your clothes on. You got to take them off, which is fair enough.
Sure.
Absolutely.
So, I removed my clothes and I got more comfortable with it and all the rest of it. Then eventually a thought struck me, and it was like out of the blue, and it was like hit me like a huge brick. It was like, why are people wearing clothes?
Right.
Instead of the opposite way, why are people taking them off?
Right.
The complete 360 kicked in. Was like, why are people wearing clothes?
That's what we call a
what do they need to
perspective
hide? What are they
shift.
hiding?
Mhm.
And that's when I knew that I'd become a nudist, when that kind of kicked in. Before that, it was all playing with a new concept and idea, but after that, it was like, oh my gosh, I've done
And so you found
full
that very
360.
liberating.
That was very liberating. And then leaving your body, and I was trying to find a human physical experience that was very liberating to me, to kind of relate it to the outer body. But there's nothing that kind of relates to that, because it really does. It relieves a huge fear within you of the idea of death.
Yes.
Which as a kid was a big black scary wall to me, and it was horrible.
Oh, me too.
And I could never get past that, and until I started working on myself, studying and understanding. Then slowly over many years, that black wall just vanished completely, and then the out of body experiences just completely removed any fear of any kind. So yeah, very, very liberating experience, Jeff. It'd be interesting to hear what your liberating experiences are, because we feel so much better when we liberate it, don't we?
Yes, absolutely. Because there are just layers. You don't even realize how many layers from childhood on that are just kind of, it's like wearing a bunch of coats, and you're just kind of taking these coats off that are there, that maybe someone else put there, that you picked up unconsciously. And so, yes, as you take these layers off, literally, it is very liberating and freeing. One thing that I will share, because this is all about contrast, although I don't have a fear in particular of me dying, I do have a really hard time when one of my when one of my animals dies.
Mm-hmm.
I grieve like no other. I have a fear of losing the people in my life that I love the most, my husband, my kid. So I do still hold on to that fear. And that is something, it's very contrasting. So to not feel it in particular towards myself, but to feel it so acutely, it's not something that I harp on, but every once in a while when I'm laying in bed at just the wrong time, when I'm trying to go to sleep, that fear will pop up into my mind. What if something happened to my husband? He works a very dangerous job every day. And I try and get rid of the thought as fast as possible, obviously.
What does your husband do?
He is fireplace and chimneys, and he gets up on very high roofs every single day. And to the point, when he first started doing this, I was his helper, and I tried making him quit. And so he fired me. Watching him, he's like a monkey on these roofs, and he doesn't just get on the roof, then he's bringing a ladder up.
Amy, that is so beautiful to watch. Those guys that are so skilled and balanced, and,
he is,
and all the rest of it. And if you just focus on that incredible ability of his more and more and more, because it is something that I admire hugely. I've got this window cleaner came here, and I really loved him because he would scamper up this.
He is unbelievable.
Wall, clean all my gutters and clean my windows, and he
doesn't just get on the roof. He brings a ladder, and then he uses the ladder on the roof to get up to the highest peak of the chimney.
Yeah.
And he pulls some Spider-Man stuff, and I have a huge respect for him. And also, he has unlimited lives, we have learned, because he has had more than one ladder literally snap while he was 60 feet in the air. And somehow magically he would just ride it to the ground, land the right way. And so that fear is kind of gone now, because he's proven to me so many times, no matter what happens, he's going to survive it. But there's just still that innate, I love him so much. When I love so much my animal, my child, my best friends, there is that feeling. So I wonder why it's easy for me for myself, I understand the concept, but I have such a harder time accepting it through others. So there's that contrasting.
So I don't know if it's very much a female male thing, or there'll probably be elements of it, but I've thought a lot about this myself. Is what would happen if my daughter who's sitting next to me dies?
Right.
And
why would you think that?
We heard that one. I agree with you.
Why I would think that is because I'm always studying life, and part of life is death, and
You,
Yeah.
how
you
you
have a very
deal with
strange
it.
father. You just have to come to terms with this.
Yes, I have a
That's all
very
there is
strange
to it.
father. That's him.
I think all parents worry about that. I think that's
And I
right.
don't really. I don't worry overly about
Okay.
it. And this is the thing that's really come to be interesting to me, is where have I got to in myself that I can not particularly worry about it, because I don't feel when my daughter dies that I'm going to lose her,
Yes.
because I'm
Okay.
still going to be able to communicate with her in
Yes.
different shapes and forms.
Yes.
So there is an element to my whole life that doesn't worry that much about this, and it really makes my life a lot easier.
Okay. I
There,
love that you said that. I love that you said that because I actually have had this experience with, I have this one animal, it's a cat that has been traveling with me. I swear it reincarnates and comes in the form of another cat, it has the same mannerisms. And I don't believe this with all of my animals, but there's this one cat that's been traveling with me for quite a long time that has proven to me that like just what you're saying, there is a communication. When my father died, he died 6 years ago, and we were not close when he died, and we were very estranged. And I actually have a better connection with him in the non-physical than I did in the physical. Sometimes we meet up in like dream OBE dream space, and I've had some really amazing connections with him, the healthy version of him, because yes.
Sorry, I just want to bring this up, Amy. Do you I'm trying to phrase this in a way that people can really grasp. One thing that really helped me with dead people was to understand what Abram teaches. Abram says that when you're alive, you've got wanted and unwanted in your vortex.
Yes.
Okay. When you're dead, the unwanted vanishes.
Yes.
Okay. So the only thing you're dealing with when you're dealing with somebody who's dead is the purest, highest, expandedest form of them. And it's not the person you knew, because the person you knew had the other side of them to you.
Yes. Me and my father were estranged because he was so in the unwanted part of his vortex.
Exactly.
And that's why when he shifted and died, I could all of a sudden feel his energy around me, and I would talk to him, and it's a completely different, like you're saying, it's the most positive, purest form of him.
Mm-hmm.
And it has brought me all sorts of healing around the topic. So yeah, that's a really great, thank you for that answer, because that I can apply that to all of the people that I love in my life and the animals in my life and everything. And it's a great reminder. So thank you for that.
By the way, people who have returned to pure energy, in case anyone is wondering, they do have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I experienced that last night. I had a dream. I haven't dreamed about my father in a long time, but you mentioned your father, and it brought to mind. I'd forgotten it happened, but as you said, oh yeah, that's right. I had a dream about my dad last night. It was really short, didn't last very long. But what happened was, I don't remember what house I was in, but I was in a house and the doorbell rang. I went up and opened the door, and there's my dad standing there. And I said, "Dad, you're here." And he gave me a big smile and he said, "Not for very long." And he started breaking up into pieces and going away.
Oh, cool. That is so cool.
I love that. I love that.
Jeffrey,
that was wild.
I just want to respond to Jeffrey's comment here. He was saying that, if I lost my daughter, he'd be here for us. Thank you. That's really nice. Really appreciate that. And that's what I love about humans. We're very supportive of each other.
Yes.
But he also said there, when we were talking about the positive dead person, he was saying the shadow also exists and can be spoken to. It can, but it is the dead part of them. It is the part that existed while they were human. You can still tune into that vibration of those.
So that's what people might call a ghost?
Yeah, I think Jeffrey might be talking about Carolyn Mace's idea of shadow existence.
But I think that's a good analogy of that lingering energy, what you're talking about,
A
that
ghost, yeah.
identity.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, nothing, as far as we understand from Abraham Hicks's teaching, nothing ever dies.
No.
Ever. Nothing, ever, in any shape or form. So whenever somebody says, you know, you need to overcome something and all the rest of it, it's important to understand when you do overcome it, it doesn't, the thing that you overcame didn't die. It's still there.
Right.
And you can go and tune back into it at a later stage, even though you overcame it for a period of time. So it never dies. And that's why you keep on, you get to that place in your life where you're only looking forward, you know. And my brother and I were on the beach on Sunday, chatting. We went for a long walk and we were talking about bits and pieces of our past, because there's nobody else to relate it to. My brother went to the army, I went to the army, and nobody else I know who went to the same army and the same similar barracks and all the rest of it. So, you know, we have things that we can talk about, but both of us are saying we don't really want to talk about the past anymore. We want to talk about where we're going. I mean, even though we're old dudes,
Yes.
we still want to focus on where we're going, what's happening. And I really love that. Yeah, to me, that's so important, because a lot of people get stuck in the past.
Yes.
And the other thing to know about the past is it's not detrimental if you're focusing on the things that you really loved about your past.
Yes.
Right.
Then you're milking them to bring them into the present so that you can move forward. So it's just about stopping to think about those things that really bring you down and make you sad or frustrated or angry or blah, blah, blah about what somebody did or your family member, etc.
Yes.
So
That's
kind of want to
what you
leave
want
that
to
behind.
avoid.
Yeah.
You mentioned that nothing ever dies, and it made me remember, or didn't make me, I chose to remember. I chose to
like
remember this
that,
thing.
Walter. High five.
I really did choose it. But no, I was
That
remembering
awareness is important.
how when I was quite young, I experienced what many people would have described as a fear of death.
Mm.
I didn't experience it as a fear of death. For me, the idea of fearing death, it was more like an unknown than anything else. I didn't know what to plug into that hole. And at the time, I would have had a hard time labeling what it was that I was experiencing. But as I look back, I realized I didn't have a fear of death. I didn't have a fear of life either. What I had was a reluctance to live. I had this belief, this irrational belief, that if I actually started living, if I allowed myself to start living, I would miss out on stuff.
Wow.
I know that doesn't make any sense, but that's what was
No,
going on
but
in my
right.
head. You know,
Yeah.
so I was reluctant to try anything, you know, because I'd miss out on stuff. And it took me quite some time to, first of all, realize that's what I was feeling and thinking,
Right.
like many decades before I realized that. And once I realized that's what I was feeling and thinking, it went away really, really quickly because, you know, there was, first of all, it was crazy. Second of all, I didn't have an attachment to it anymore. And third of all, I realized over time what happened was I just tried to live anyway. And I just grew out of the
Absolutely.
reluctance.
You didn't want to sit on the sidelines anymore. You wanted to join the race.
Yeah. So ultimately, I guess the reason I'm bringing that up is, sure, nothing ever dies, but living goes on.
Yes.
And you can, we're really good as human beings. We're able to squelch a lot of life. We're able to pinch off that connection to inner being. We're able to do a lot of stuff like that, but we can't do it forever. And as
No.
the stream pointed out last week, this lifetime is like a blink in time from the eternal perspective. You know, when you look at it that way, then trying to stay in a space of fear of life or fear of something that happened in your past or whatever, that's even a shorter time frame, right? So we're talking like less
Absolutely.
than a blink of an eye for that kind of thing. You know, it's so minimal that when you can step back as far as they're trying to encourage us to step back, it's nothing. It's
Right.
nothing at all.
So enjoy
do
it
whatever
while
you
you're
want.
here.
Do whatever you want. There's this group, and they made a whole movie on it, and it's an occult group, and the movie's brilliantly well done. It's about a rocket scientist back in the 70s or something. But the spiritual group's one and only philosophy is do what thou wilt.
Okay.
and that is the whole of the law.
Mhm.
And those are literally the words that they use. The movie kind of points out how they can get them into a lot of trouble.
No kidding. Yeah. Funny thing, there's a whole bunch of other people living out how they would wilt, you know.
But I really liked it, and that's really what you want to focus on, is do what they will. And if you go back to Richard Bach's story that Walt read the other day, it really points out that you don't really have to worry about what other people are being and doing and thinking. But I just wanted to say this: the history has been made today. My wife has come onto the live podcast, and she said,
Oh my goodness!
"Oh
All
no,
right.
oh no! I have to retract that. Sorry." That's my daughter. That's like so.
sounds like
I
a
thought it
Henny
was my
Youngman
wife.
routine.
Oh no. Okay, so I keep on forgetting. Everybody's got everybody's phone. So history hasn't been made. One day my wife might join the podcast.
Maybe next time.
It's the first time in a long time we've had a retraction. Wow.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to tell my wife she's gonna have to come on now.
We have to thank your daughter for
she-
coming onto the show, even though she didn't have a big role to play. She did have a couple of important roles to play. The most important
That's
one being
right.
saying, "Why would you think that?" I thought that was
Yeah.
Yes, I love
contribution.
that so much.
You obviously don't know Daddy well.
Well, I don't know. I think she knows
Daddy's
you pretty
thinking
well.
these
That
things
was
all
perfect.
the time. I mean, life and death's on my mind constantly, really. I love it. It's so exciting to think about it and understand it better. So,
Sometimes I wonder what it's like to die. at the
sometimes you wonder what
moment.
it's like to die at the moment. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're going to become like Dad. It's terrible.
That's okay. She has a few years, then she can do her revolution against you, and everything will be okay.
I love how we come up with one conversation starter and here's where it ends. I love it.
Mhm. Yeah, we go off in all kinds of different directions. Who needs an out of body experience? We have an out of mouth experience.
I know.
Oh, it's so cool.
It's a
Good
great way
stuff,
to-
guys. Good
We're
stuff.
out
And thank
of
you
time.
also to hi Annette. We haven't seen you in a while. Nice to see you here. But thanks to all the people who are joining in on the little death, Le Petit Mort, Jeffrey types in there. But thank you to all the live streamers who were sharing your stuff. That was really helpful. We appreciate that. And thanks for bringing up that topic, Amy. You set us on a good course today. That was really good. So thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for all you do every Monday. And especially thank you to all our podcast listeners, including those who keep sending in emails. More and more are sending in emails and text messages and Facebook messages and all that kind of stuff using the app, the LOA Today app. Yeah, a little promo here. Make sure you got the app. Make sure that you're sharing the app with everybody else. Keep sending those questions in too, because we have built out the form so that you can send a question to any of the co-hosts now.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
Amy and Louie, you can actually start getting questions too. You just, be ready.
Bring
We're
them
gonna start
on. I'd
coming.
love one.
All right. So reach out and touch a co-host. Maybe we'll make that the new phrase, right? Reach out and touch a co-host. So thank you guys very much. Thank you especially to our podcast listeners. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
You stayed for a